Hi crafty friends, Melissa Minor here. Thanks so much for joining me on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be making a fun project. We're going to be making a countdown to Christmas advent calendar. For the next several months, I am guest designing for clearscraps.com. I will leave their information linked down below in the description box. All right, this is what we're making today. So it comes all in this, it's birch chipboard, and we get to put it together and make it however we'd like. So that's fun. But you get this instruction sheet and then look at all the pieces you get. You get this word Christmas, and that's going to be fun to paint up. And then you get all the numbers and you get the words days until, so it can say days until Christmas, and then all these chipboard numbers. Now with these, you do need to take a pair of scissors and you're just going to trim them apart. And so we'll just use these scissors here and cut the little chads and make sure that we get those all cut. So I'll do the rest of those off camera. You also get this holly and berries. And then these are the little tags that we're going to place the numbers on. So you can see in the picture here, we'll glue those numbers onto the tags once we get everything all painted and decorated up. So it'll look kind of like this. So this is going to be so fun. All right, so let me move these tags out of the way and show you the rest of the contents that come in this package. All right, you also get this piece, and that is going to make the back panel. This is going to be the front, and then we got the back piece here. And then there's the back, and then that's how you put the back, the stand onto it. So when we get there, we'll clip those apart, and we'll get to that. All right, so I found a different pair of scissors that are a little bit sharper, and I'm going to show you here. I'm just cutting off those little pieces. I'm getting the edges off, and then we'll cut the rest of these numbers out so that way we are ready to get painting. So I'll do a couple of these on camera and then I'll finish these off camera, but I just kind of wanted to show you that. All right, the first thing I'm doing is I'm applying some white gesso to all of these pieces. And the reason I'm doing that instead of just applying paint directly to the chipboard pieces is because I think if you apply a thin layer of the white gesso, I think that that just makes the paint that you paint on a lot crisper, and so that it doesn't fade into the background. So I just like the look. You don't have to do this step. You could definitely paint these without the gesso. I just thought that it would be crisper to paint these with the white gesso. So I'm just using this sponge here and applying that. So I'm also gonna apply the white gesso to the frame. So I'm gonna put a thin layer on here, and my glass mat is just perfect for this type of project. I also have some scrap boxes that things came in that I will use later on for painting. For my decoration pieces, I'm using the Christmas Spectacular from 49 and Market. So I want to go ahead and cut a piece of this pattern paper down, and I'm going to flip this around here. I want to use that beautiful flower on the base of this. So I'm just going to trim this down, and then I will line this up on here, and then I'll trim off any excess with my scissors. But I'm going to go ahead and get this adhered down. I'm using some Mod Podge in matte. So I had glossy at home and I had to run out to the store to get the matte Mod Podge because I don't want this to have a shine. So I'm putting a thin layer of the matte Mod Podge down on this base. And then I'll go ahead and put my pattern paper. I'll line it up and give this a good press and make sure it's all adhered nicely. Pressing that down. And I'm just using like a little bone folder, a little scraper here, just to really get that adhered without bubbles. Now I'm taking my scissors and I'm just going to trim away the excess. I could have trimmed it a little more to the size, but I wanted to make sure that I left any room in case I needed it. All right, I have that finished, so I'm going to apply the top coat here. So this is just another layer of that matte Mod Podge. And nothing fancy, just getting good coverage on here and making sure that there aren't any bubbles in the paper. Okay, now we're gonna paint. So my gesso is dry, so I'm just using a little makeup sponge from the dollar store, and I'm applying the black paint. This is just black acrylic paint, and I'm applying that to the frame and then all of the numbers. So we'll get that done. Paint these all up, and see, this is where I'm using some of my scraps that packaging has come in. These are coming in handy. And it's also nice because I can set this aside to dry. All right, I'm bringing in some metallic gold paint, and I want to paint the word Christmas with this metallic gold. So I'm going to do the same method, and I'm just going to kind of tap this on, brush this onto the word Christmas. And all of my paints I just picked up at Walmart, nothing fancy about my paints. And then I'm gonna set this aside to dry once I get this metallic paint on here. That looks really pretty. Okay. Now I'm taking a paintbrush and I'm just going around the edges of my black frame to where I saw any kind of white marks, just to make sure that I got good coverage on the frame. So I'm just going along the top and the bottom and all the edges. Okay, I love this pattern paper from 49 in Market, and there are some words that say Christmas on here. And I thought this would be nice to adhere the numbers to. So these are going to be the tags for the numbers. So I'm going to go along with the same method, and I'm applying a thin layer of the Mod Podge. I'm going to press this down, and then I'm going to go over the top of it with another thin layer of Mod Podge. Now, if I had to do this all over again, I would recommend tracing the circle of where the tag is and just using a hole punch to cut that out. But I didn't do that. So it makes it more difficult for me to hole out where that is. So I definitely would recommend punching the hole before you do this part and adhering it. So just trace one and then punch them all out. That would be my recommendation. All right, I picked up this tool. I think Clear Scrap sells this on their website, but this is just a little sanding tool. I actually picked mine up at a craft show, Scrapbook Expo, I guess is what it's called, in St. Louis several years ago, but I rarely use it, but it is perfect for this project. So I'm just taking it and going along all of the edges to just sand off that excess paper so that it looks like it came this way. So this is really good detail. Now I'm taking some Distress Oxide ink in the color Black Soot, and I'm using an ink dauber tool, and I'm just applying a little bit of ink all around the edges where I sanded, just to give it more of that distressed look. So that ink will just finish this off nicely. So I'm going around all the edges with the Black Soot. And I think that really makes a big difference. It's a nice detail to add. There we go. So you can see the ink on there. That looks really good. All right, so here's where I didn't really have the proper tools. So I'm just using a like my pick up and place tool. It has a sharp point on it. So I'm just kind of going in and holing these out. You could use like a little drill bit here. Or if I would have been thinking, I would have definitely punched these out beforehand. Like I said, it would have made it a lot easier. So I'm just going to go in and sand where I'm holing these out. And then, so that's where my pegs are going to go, where the numbers are going to hang. So I've got that ready. But since everything's dry here, I'm going to go ahead and glue my frame down. And I'm just using some tacky glue. You could definitely use some hot glue, but this is tacky glue and it's working great. So this is what I'm using to adhere it. So I put glue all along the back of the frame, and I'm just going to line this up And we'll give that a good press, and there we go. So that looks super pretty. I love that. Okay, I'm doing the same method on the tags, and I'm using this sanding tool, and I'm just going along and sanding the edges. Now for this one, it's definitely more important because the edges of this tag are rounded, and my paper, when I cut it, it wasn't rounded. So this is really a nice detail. Here's where I'm just using my pick up and place tool to just kind of hole out that center. If you had like a drill bit, that would be handy too. And now I'm also taking my Distress Oxide ink in the color Black Soot again, and I'm going around all of the edges of each of these tags. So I'll repeat that on all of them. And now it's time to glue the numbers down. Now I was looking at these, and some of them actually say the word Christmas on them. So the numbers that I'll use that are duplicates, like the number 1 and the 2, I'm definitely going to apply those to the ones that say Christmas, because those are the ones you're going to see the most often, right? So for those, I am applying the numbers, and I'm just using the same tacky glue here. Actually, for this one, I'm using Nuvo glue. This is Nuvo Deluxe glue, and this holds nicely. So I used a couple different glues. I'm just using my tweezers here to hold the numbers while I adhere the glue, and then giving them a good press. I like this Nuvo glue because it does dry clear, just in case any seeps out. So those look good. All right, now it is time. I'm just laying out the letters just to see how I like them. And I'm using a T-square ruler here just to make sure that I get everything lined up, and I'm making sure everything's gonna fit. So I'm just lining up my letters here, days until. And I'm not gonna glue down the word Christmas because I do wanna do a treatment to the word Christmas. But days until, I do know where that's gonna go now. So I'm gonna bring in my T-square ruler and just line these up. And then I'm gonna grab my tweezers and my glue, and I will start gluing these letters down. And I'm using the Nuvo Deluxe glue again to glue these letters down. It's a real strong bond. So I'm just lining that up with the ruler just to make sure I get everything straight. I don't want crooked letters. And then, so I'll do some of these on camera, and then I'll finish this up off camera. So that's looking good. And I kind of laid out the numbers up there at the top, you'll see. And that's just so I knew for placement where to put the letters to make sure I had enough room. So I wanted to go down far enough so that I had plenty of room with my numbers. Okay. So I have that all glued down, and I think this is where I want the word Christmas, but I'm going to do a fun treatment. So I'm bringing in my art glitter glue, and I'm just using a sponge here, and I'm going to sponge glue all over the word Christmas. And I'm going to do a glitter treatment to this. So this art glitter glue is going to be perfect so that I can adhere the glitter to it. So I'm just sponging this on here. Don't you wonder, like, is that how art glitter glue got its name? Was that its original purpose? I always use it in my scrapbooking, but I thought I would give it a try for this glitter technique, and it's working perfectly. So I'm just sponging a little bit more on, getting it all over my fingers. I have a coffee filter underneath, and that's just to catch any excess glitter. Okay, I'm just making sure I got all of that glue out of the center of those letters, and now I'm ready to start adhering the glitter. So I'm just going to shake some glitter all over where I have the glue, and it's that easy. Isn't that so pretty? So I'm going to continue shaking this on until I get good coverage all over the word Christmas. And then I'll set this aside to dry so that glitter can bond to the glue. But oh my gosh, I love it. It's so pretty. It just shines a little bit more. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. So I'll set that aside. One more little spot. All right, I love it. So let me clean up my mess. I'm just gonna pour this glitter back into the jar like this. I love that coffee filter for that reason. And now we've got it all ready for the next project. Okay, so since the word Christmas is all glittery now, I'm gonna apply some of this Nuvo Deluxe glue, and I'm gonna adhere the word Christmas. And that is so gorgeous against that 49 and Market paper. I love it. Just gonna give it a little press. Okay. So now it's time to attach the back portion. And I'm just kind of testing it out here to see how it's gonna work. So there's some little notch marks on the back, and you'll see off camera, I did go ahead and paint the back. I wasn't going to originally, but since it's gonna be setting up, I thought it'd look nicer. I didn't paint this little mechanism here. I guess you could have, but I just didn't really see a need for it. So I'm gonna bring in my tacky glue. I glued the back piece down, and you also need to put glue into these little pieces here. So I'm gonna push those in and give it a good press. And there you have it. It is finished. It's that easy. I did add a few of the laser cut elements from 49 and Market. And there's the back. See how that works? It's so pretty. And then I will take you over to the living room and just kind of show you how this looks. It's so pretty. So if you've enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up button. If you're new, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. And I will leave product links down below in the description box. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!